Why does happiness always feel just out of reach? You wake up, you check your phone, scroll through someone's vacation in Bali, someone else's new promotion, or the perfect couple smiling through perfect teeth on a perfect date. You sigh, stretch, and maybe think to yourself, when's it going to be my turn to be that happy? Let's be honest, we've all believed, at some point, that happiness is something we get to, a place, a moment, a milestone. Maybe it's that better job, the dream house, or just a bit more money in the bank. Whatever it is, we think it's somewhere out there. But here's the catch. Even when we reach those things, the finish line moves, the goalpost shifts, we get the thing we wanted, and suddenly want more. So what's going on? Are we broken, or are we just asking happiness to show up at the wrong address? A 2.000-year-old idea is changing the way we think about well-being today. In a world obsessed with hustle, hacks, and hyper-productivity, it might surprise you that some of the most powerful insights on happiness come from an era before smartphones, psychology degrees, or even indoor plumbing. Enter Stoicism. Yeah, the word itself sounds a little stiff, maybe even cold. You picture a stone-faced Roman emperor, arms crossed, showing no emotion. But that's not the real Stoicism. The truth? Stoicism was never about feeling less, it was about feeling wiser. It was about understanding what's in your control, letting go of what's not, and learning to live in harmony with the chaos of life, without losing yourself in the storm. And here's the really wild part. Modern neuroscience and psychology are catching up. Research today supports what Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus were saying thousands of years ago, that the quality of your thoughts determines the quality of your life. So what happens when we blend ancient wisdom with modern science? You get a radically practical path to happiness, one that doesn't rely on external rewards, but on internal mastery. Want to be happier? Start with these 13 tiny decisions. You don't have to change your life overnight. You don't need to quit your job, move to the mountains, or become some minimalist guru who lives off green tea and air. You just need to shift your habits, one small choice at a time. Because real happiness? It's hidden in the micro moments, in the way you greet the morning, in how you breathe through a stressful moment, in your ability to laugh, forgive, and notice the sky on your lunch break. It's in how you choose to see your life. Stoic thinkers knew that most people spend their lives reacting, chasing, craving, complaining, but you can live differently. And these 13 Stoic-based practices, backed by modern science, will show you how. In this video, we're going on a journey together. Not across countries or continents, but into something far more personal, your own mind. You'll learn how Stoic wisdom, far from being rigid or outdated, can act as a compass in the modern world. You'll discover what neuroscience is uncovering about well-being, and most importantly, you'll walk away with 13 actionable, bite-sized habits that can help you feel more grounded, more present, and, yes, more joyful. We're not promising magic. There are no shortcuts here. But what we are offering is something far more real, a timeless strategy for cultivating happiness from within. Each principle in this series is a stepping stone, practical, tested, and simple enough to begin today. No jargon, no fluff, just clear, honest tools that help you navigate your life with more clarity, calm, and intention. Now, you might be wondering, isn't Stoicism kind of cold? Actually, it's the opposite. Imagine a man walking calmly through a storm, not because he's unaware of the rain, but because he knows he can't control the weather. So instead, he focuses on what he can control, his breath, his steps, his choices. That's Stoicism, and that's what this video is all about. Because happiness, as we've been sold, isn't about avoiding discomfort. It's not about creating a life without struggle. It's about learning how to meet life on its own terms, with resilience, gratitude, and grace. We'll begin with a deceptively simple but deeply transformative idea. Gratitude for what you already have. Not the kind of gratitude that feels forced or fake. Not the cheesy, just be grateful, advice that people throw at you when life gets tough. But the real kind, the kind that shifts your lens, rewires your mind, and helps you stop chasing a mirage of happiness, so you can actually experience it. Right here, right now. Because gratitude isn't about ignoring what's hard. It's about not letting what's missing blind you to what's present. And once that lens begins to change, everything else gets clearer. So if you've ever asked yourself, Why don't I feel happier? Even when things are going well? How can I be more resilient in the face of stress? Is it really possible to feel calm and joyful in today's chaotic world? Then this video is for you. Get ready to explore 13 timeless lessons, small shifts that can lead to big transformations. You'll laugh more, you'll breathe deeper, you'll stop fighting with what you can't control, and you'll start building a sense of happiness that isn't fragile or fleeting, but deeply rooted. Let's take that first step together. Ready? Then let's begin with principle number 1, gratitude. Glowing star pillar 1. Gratitude. See the good that's already here. Gratitude turns what we have into enough. Let's pause. Not to plan, not to push, but to notice. You're alive, right now, breathing, thinking, sitting in a body that, no matter how tired or aching or imperfect, has carried you all the way here. And that is something worth honoring. But here's the thing. In a world constantly shouting, more, faster, next, gratitude feels almost rebellious. Because instead of chasing the next thing, gratitude says, look, this is already good. And that shift? That tiny, quiet shift in how you see the world, can change everything. Compass the illusion of, not enough. Most of us live on autopilot. We wake up already behind. We scroll through other people's highlights. We mentally list everything we don't have. I'll be happy when I get the promotion. I'll feel worthy when I lose 10 pounds. I'll relax when I finally have more money. But the bar always moves. Every time you reach one goal, another appears in its place. The truth? If you don't learn to appreciate what you already have, nothing you chase will ever satisfy you. You'll be full, but never fulfilled. Brain, what gratitude does to your brain. This isn't just a nice idea, it's science. Studies from the University of California and Harvard show that practicing gratitude increases dopamine and serotonin, your brain's feel-good chemicals, lowers cortisol, the stress hormone, improves sleep, boosts immunity, enhances overall well-being and life satisfaction. People who keep a simple gratitude journal sleep better, feel more optimistic, and report fewer physical symptoms of stress. And the best part? It doesn't take hours. It takes attention. Classical building, what the Stoics taught about gratitude. The Stoics weren't soft thinkers. They were warriors of the mind, practicing discipline, clarity, and emotional strength. But they started with gratitude. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote pages in his journal thanking his grandfather, mother, tutors, and friends, not for grand achievements, but for qualities like patience, humility, and kindness. Seneca wrote, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." In other words, stop fearing small losses, and start appreciating small blessings. Life is fragile. Don't wait to lose something before you treasure it. Seedling gratitude in the real world. Let's make this real. You overslept. You spilled coffee. Your inbox is overflowing. And yet, you have a bed. You have coffee. You have work. You have breath. That doesn't mean you fake a smile. It means you balance the narrative. Gratitude doesn't ignore struggle. It keeps struggle from stealing everything. Even on your worst day, something is still right. Hammer and wrench, how to build a gratitude practice. Here's how to start rewiring your brain toward appreciation. 1. The morning list. Before checking your phone, list 3 things you're grateful for. Not big things. Not fancy things. Just real things. Like, the smell of my blanket. A friend who texted me yesterday. The sun is out. Done daily. This rewires your brain to scan for joy. 2. The gratitude pause. During moments of stress or annoyance, pause and ask, is there anything here I can still appreciate? Maybe the meeting was tough, but someone smiled at you. Maybe traffic is bad, but your favorite song came on. Maybe the day's a mess, but your body got you through it. This doesn't erase discomfort. It adds depth. 3. The evening reflection. Before bed, ask, what was the best moment of today? Relive it, feel it, thank it. Go to sleep full, not of food, but of perspective. Wave when it's hardest to be grateful. What about grief, loss, heartbreak? Here's where gratitude becomes courage. It doesn't deny pain. It says, even in this, I will look for light. Maybe the person is gone, but your memory of them lives. Maybe the chapter ended, but it taught you something real. Maybe you're still hurting, but you're still here. Sometimes gratitude whispers, sometimes it cries, but it always always points to what remains. Open book. A short story. There's a woman who lost her job. Everything felt like it collapsed. She was angry, scared, ashamed. Every night, she forced herself to write one thing she was thankful for. The first week, it was bitter. At least I'm breathing. At least I have socks. But by week 3, her list grew softer. I laughed with my neighbor. My mom called. I still have my favorite book. She didn't get her job back right away, but she got herself back. That's the real win. Dizzy. The quiet revolution. Here's the radical truth. You can't control everything, but you can control what you choose to notice. Gratitude isn't about settling. It's about seeing clearly, even as you grow. It's not about saying, this is enough. I'll never want more. It's about saying, this is enough for now. And that matters. And when you train your eyes to see good in your now, you walk toward your future with peace, not pressure. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? You've started building your foundation. You've begun to see, not just what you lack, but what you already have. Now comes the next step in your inner transformation. Letting go. Because as long as your heart is full of resentment, there won't be room for joy. In the next section, we'll talk about the power of releasing grudges, not for others, but for yourself. Coming up, Pillar 2. Let go of grudges. Fire. Pillar 2. Let go of grudges. Free yourself from the weight you carry. Holding onto anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. Unknown. Let's talk about the thing no one wants to admit. Bitterness. That heavy, silent ache that lives behind forced smiles and polite responses. The one that flares up when you hear their name. The one that makes your chest tighten when you remember what happened. That betrayal. That lie. That moment you didn't deserve. And yet, you're still carrying it. Backpack. You weren't meant to carry this forever. We hold grudges like armor. Like a shield that says, never again. But over time, that armor gets heavy. And worse, it rusts. It hardens. It keeps the pain in, and everyone else out. You may think you're protecting yourself. But really, you're imprisoning yourself. You're letting a past moment ruin future peace. Brain. What resentment does to the body and brain. Grudges aren't just emotional. They're physical. Studies show that holding onto anger increases cortisol, stress hormone, raises blood pressure, weakens the immune system, contributes to anxiety, depression, insomnia, can even lead to heart disease. It's like walking around with a fire inside you and wondering why you feel exhausted all the time. But when you release that fire, your body begins to heal. Classical building. What the Stoics taught about letting go. The Stoics were not interested in being right. They were interested in being free. Epictetus, once a slave who endured cruelty, taught his students, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. He didn't say forgive because they deserve it. He said free yourself, because you deserve that peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and ask, what fault of mine most resembles this? Not to excuse the other person, but to remind yourself, you are not perfect either. And that's okay. Compassion and clarity go hand in hand. Brick. Letting go is not pretending. Let's be clear. Letting go doesn't mean it didn't hurt. It doesn't mean they were right. It doesn't mean you invite them back into your life. It means this: I refuse to let this memory define my energy anymore. It's an act of self-respect. A way to say, my peace matters more than my pride. Hammer and wrench. How to actually let go when you really don't want to. 1. Acknowledge the pain. Don't suppress it. Write it down. Say it aloud. Admit, yes, this hurt me. Naming the pain is the first step toward releasing it. 2. Separate the story from the facts. The Stoics believed in observing events without adding drama. What happened, exactly? What are you adding to the story that keeps you stuck? I was betrayed, is one thing. I can never trust anyone again, is a belief you're choosing. Challenge it. 3. Reframe the moment. Ask, what did I learn? How did this grow me? What strength did I gain from surviving this? Pain leaves scars, but scars can be reminders of resilience, not ruin. 4. Choose peace. Again and again. Letting go isn't a one-time thing. It's a practice. Every time the anger resurfaces. Breathe. Every time you want revenge. Pause. Every time you replay the memory. Whisper, I'm safe now. Because you are. Wave. A real story. A man carried a grudge against his father for years. Abuse, neglect, absence. The kind of pain that runs deep. He cut off contact, built a wall, moved on, or so he thought. But in quiet moments, the bitterness boiled, until one day, he wrote a letter, not to send, just to say what he never said. I forgive you, not because you earned it, but because I want to be free. He burned the letter. He cried. He exhaled something he'd been holding for decades. And for the first time in years, he slept through the night. Light bulb forgiveness is strength. We often think holding onto anger makes us strong. But really, it's letting go that takes courage. Because when you forgive, you're not weak. You're not naive. You're wise enough to choose peace over pain. You're strong enough to say, this hurt me, and I'm still choosing to heal. That's power. That's freedom. That's you, taking your life back. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? You've looked at your blessings. You've released some burdens. Now it's time to rise. Not just metaphorically, but literally. Because how you start your day often shapes how you live your life. In the next section, we'll explore the art of waking up with intention, rather than anxiety. Coming up, Pillar 3. Be a morning person. Sun. Pillar 3. Be a morning person. Start your day before the world does. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. Marcus Aurelius. Let's be honest. Mornings can be brutal. The alarm buzzes. You hit snooze. Once, twice, maybe 5 times. You scroll. You stress. You rush out the door, late, groggy, and already behind. Sound familiar? That's how most people start their day, by reacting. To the clock, to their phone, to pressure, to noise. But what if your morning wasn't a mad dash? What if it was a moment of control, a chance to lead your day? Rather than chase it? Bullseye. Why mornings matter more than we think. How you begin your morning sets the tone for everything else. A slow, intentional morning can lower anxiety, improve focus, increase productivity, boost creativity, regulate mood, strengthen your sense of control. Because when you own your morning, the rest of the day feels like it belongs to you, not to the chaos. And the best part? You don't need to wake up at 4:30 a.m. and do a triathlon. You just need to wake up for yourself, not your emails. Not your notifications. You. Your brain in the morning. In the first hour after you wake, your brain is especially sensitive. Your subconscious is still wide open. Your body's stress response is still adjusting. So if the first thing you feed your mind is stress, drama, or distraction, your entire system tightens. But if you feed it stillness, focus, or gratitude, it softens, it centers, it sets a powerful foundation. Classical building. What the Stoics did each morning. The Stoics treated mornings as sacred, not in a religious way, but as a personal practice of clarity. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, used mornings to remind himself how to live. In his meditations, he wrote passages like, "Today I shall meet people who are meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, but none of them can harm me." He didn't wake up hoping for ease. He woke up preparing for life, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. His mornings were armor. Hammer and wrench. How to build your morning practice. You don't need hours. Even 10 to 15 minutes of intention can change everything. 1. Wake up without checking your phone. Don't give your first attention to the outside world. Give it to yourself. Let your mind meet the day before it meets the internet. 2. Do something that grounds you. This can be sitting in silence, journaling one thought or intention, stretching or breathing, making your bed with full presence, reading one page of something meaningful. The goal isn't achievement, it's alignment. 3. Ask a simple question. Before you dive into the day, ask, who do I want to be today? What matters most today? How can I lead myself gently through whatever comes? That question becomes your compass. Start slow if you need to. You don't have to go from night owl to sunrise monk in 1 week. Try this. Wake up just 15 minutes earlier. Protect that time. No tech. No to-do lists. Use it to center yourself. Gradually, that space becomes something you crave because it feels like freedom. Balance scale. Mornings are where you come first. And in a world constantly asking for pieces of you, that's revolutionary. That's power. That's self-leadership. You're not just waking up early. You're waking up intentionally. You're reminding yourself, this life is mine. This day is mine. This breath is mine. Sunrise. A quiet story. A woman named Elena used to wake up 20 minutes before work. Throw on clothes. and rush out the door. She was tired, anxious, always playing catch-up. One day, she decided to wake up just 30 minutes earlier. She made coffee. She sat by the window. She wrote one sentence in her notebook. Today I want to move through life slowly. That's it. No fancy rituals, no perfect setup. But over time, that 30 minutes changed her. She stopped rushing through her life. She started showing up to it. Hot beverage morning presence over morning pressure. This isn't about being a high-performance person. It's about being a present person. Whether you're an artist, a student, a parent, or a CEO, your best work doesn't come from stress. It comes from clarity. And clarity comes in the quiet. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? Now that you're waking with intention, it's time to make space for clarity throughout the day, not just in the morning. And that means facing one of the biggest thieves of our attention. Our presence, and our joy, your phone. In the next section, we'll talk about the courage and wisdom of disconnecting, so that you can reconnect with what matters. Coming up, Pillar 4. Turn off your phone sometimes. No cell phone. Pillar 4. Turn off your phone sometimes, unplug to reconnect. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Anne Lamott. Let's be real. Your phone is probably the first thing you touch in the morning, and the last thing you see at night. It wakes you up. It pings you all day. It entertains you when you're bored, distracts you when you're anxious, and numbs you when life gets too loud. It's brilliant. It's convenient. And if we're honest, it's also quietly stealing your peace. Brain. What's really happening in your brain? Every time you pick up your phone, even just to check a notification, you trigger a hit of dopamine. Your brain's reward chemical. It feels good. You get a tiny jolt of pleasure. But too many jolts, too often, create dopamine fatigue. You feel dull or bored without stimulation. Shortened attention span, increased anxiety and comparison, disrupted sleep cycles, reduced emotional presence. In short, your phone trains your brain to always look outward and forget to look inward. Compass. The Stoics would have warned us. Seneca, living 2,000 years before smartphones, said this: to be everywhere is to be nowhere. He wasn't talking about the internet. He was talking about distraction, the kind that scatters your energy, splits your attention, and keeps you from being present in your own life. The Stoics valued focus. They knew that peace didn't come from having more, but from wanting less. And your phone? It's built to make you want more content, more noise, more approval. Bullseye. The cost of constant connection. Let's do a quick gut check. Have you ever reached for your phone and realized you weren't sure why you picked it up? Have you ever lost an hour scrolling without remembering a single thing you saw? Have you ever felt more disconnected from yourself after being online? That's the paradox of modern life. We're always connected, but rarely present. And presence is where life actually happens. Hammer and wrench. How to unplug without panic. You don't need to throw your phone in the ocean or move to a cabin in the woods. You just need boundaries. Start here. 1. Create no phone zones. The first 30 minutes after you wake up. Meal times. The last hour before bed. While talking to someone you care about. These are sacred spaces. Protect them. 2. Turn off non-essential notifications. You don't need to be interrupted by every like, tag, email, or sale. Choose what deserves your attention. Hint: it's probably less than you think. 3. Replace scrolling with silence. The next time you're tempted to scroll mindlessly, try this instead. Sit outside and just look. Listen to music with your eyes closed. Write down 3 things you're feeling. Take a 5-minute walk with no destination. At first, it'll feel weird, unproductive, maybe even boring. But that space? That's where your real thoughts live. That's where clarity starts to return. Light bulb. What you start to notice when you unplug. You feel your meals again. You hear the birds in the morning. You look into people's eyes more. You breathe deeper. You slow down. And suddenly, life stops rushing past you. You stop drifting through days you can't even remember. You start to show up, fully. Intentionally. Human. Wave. A quiet story. A man went on a silent retreat. No phone. No talking. No technology. At first, it drove him crazy. He kept reaching for his pocket. Kept feeling the need to share. To check. To distract. But by the 3rd day, something shifted. He saw birds he'd never noticed before. He felt emotions he'd been avoiding for years. He wrote his first poem in a decade. When he came home, he didn't ditch his phone. He just used it less and lived more. Person in lotus position tat kong nagi kong phi la tu bo. It's not about giving up modern life. It's about choosing how you participate in it. It's about saying, I don't need constant input to feel alive. I don't want to miss my life while staring at someone else's. I can be alone with my thoughts and trust that I'll be okay. Because when you unplug from the world, you plug back into yourself. And that connection? It's the one that matters most. Open book what the Stoics would tell us today. They'd say, guard your mind like it's your most valuable possession, because it is. Practice stillness, not as escape, but as access to wisdom. Use your tools, but don't let them use you. In a noisy world, silence is a rebellion. And that silence? It's not empty. It's full of you. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? You've learned to start your day with intention. And now, you've reclaimed your attention. There's one more piece to complete this inner foundation. It's not about discipline. It's not about effort. It's about lightness. Because even as we heal, grow, and become stronger, sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is simply laugh. Up next, Pillar 5. Laugh more, lighten the heart to strengthen the spirit. Tears of joy. Pillar 5. Laugh more, lighten the heart to strengthen the spirit. Against the assault of laughter, nothing can stand. Mark Twain. Let's be honest. Life is hard. It throws punches, breaks your plans, wears you down. So somewhere along the way, we start believing that being serious is the same thing as being strong. We stop laughing. We stop playing. We confuse maturity with tight jaws, furrowed brows, and clenched fists. But here's the truth. Laughter is not the opposite of strength. It's what makes strength sustainable. Compass why laughter matters more than you think. You can eat clean, meditate, wake up early, read all the self-help books. But if you don't know how to laugh at life, at yourself, at the absurdity of it all, then you'll carry even the lightest burden like it weighs a ton. Laughter breaks tension. Laughter restores perspective. Laughter reminds you, hey, this moment doesn't have to be so heavy. It's not about denial. It's about balance. Brain. What laughter does to your brain and body. Science backs it up. When you laugh, your brain releases endorphins, natural painkillers, dopamine, feel-good motivation, serotonin, mood stabilizer, oxytocin, connection and trust. At the same time, it reduces cortisol, your stress hormone, blood pressure, muscle tension. You breathe deeper. You feel lighter. You think clearer. And the best part? Even fake laughter, yes, the awkward kind, triggers similar benefits. Your body doesn't care if the joke was funny. It just knows joy when it feels it. Classical building. What the Stoics understood about laughter. The Stoics are often misunderstood as cold, emotionless philosophers, but that's not who they were. Seneca was witty, sharp, and often funny in his letters. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself not to take slights and irritations so seriously, because what good did that ever do? And Epictetus? He encouraged self-awareness without self-judgment, which, honestly, is one of the best ways to laugh at yourself with kindness. To them, emotional mastery wasn't about suppression. It was about not being ruled by emotion. And what better way to diffuse negative emotion than to laugh at it? Cold sweat smile. Laughter is humility in motion. To laugh is to let go of control, of ego, of the illusion that we're supposed to have it all together. It's saying, yep, I slipped on the metaphorical banana peel today, and I'm okay. When you laugh, you shrink your fear down to size. You see that most things aren't as serious as they feel. You soften, you open, you heal. Hammer and wrench. How to invite more laughter into your life. 1. Laugh at yourself, gently. Caught yourself overthinking? Said something awkward in a meeting? Burned your toast while giving a motivational speech to your cat? Perfect. That's your cue to smile. Shake your head and say, yep, that's me. Self-compassion plus humor equals freedom. 2. Curate joy. Follow comedians you actually find funny. Save a folder of memes that always make you snort. Watch old stand-up clips from your favorite era. Revisit movies that made you laugh as a kid. This isn't wasting time. It's emotional nutrition. 3. Play. Actually play. Run. Dance. Be ridiculous. Do a terrible impersonation of a movie villain. Not because it's productive, but because your inner child misses you. And that part of you, the one who used to laugh for no reason, they're still there, waiting. Wave a true story. There's a woman who went through a tough divorce. For months, everything felt heavy. One day, her kid asked to watch a silly cartoon together. They laughed, hard, tears streaming. She said afterward, "I didn't know how much I needed that sound. It reminded me that even in heartbreak, joy still exists." That's the power of laughter. It doesn't erase pain. It coexists with it, and makes space for something softer to live beside it. Speech balloon. Why we forget to laugh. We're scared of looking foolish. We think it means we're not taking life seriously. We've been taught that strength equals stoicism, the wrong kind. But real stoicism says, do not let outer events disturb your inner joy. And joy without laughter? That's like sunlight without warmth. So laugh, even on bad days. Especially on bad days. Because laughter is resilience, in disguise. Anti-clockwise arrows wrapping up Tier 1 inner foundations. Let's take a breath and look back. In this tier, you've rebuilt your inner world. Gratitude, noticing the good. Forgiveness, releasing what hurts. Mornings, starting with presence. Attention, choosing clarity over chaos. Laughter, keeping light in your soul. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about coming home to yourself, quietly, daily, deeply. You've cleared space, built strength, opened your heart. Now, you're ready to move forward. What comes next? Outer action with inner wisdom. With your foundation strong, it's time to engage with life more fully. To shape your days with intention. To pursue what matters to you. To become the kind of person who lives on purpose. Coming up, Tier 2 living with intention. And the very first step? Designing a day that feeds your soul, not just your calendar. Principle 6. Pack your days with purpose. Coming next. Don't count the days, make the days count. Muhammad Ali. Now that you've built your inner foundation, gratitude, forgiveness, presence, clarity, lightness, it's time to step outside. To move, to act, to live not just with awareness but with purpose. Because here's the thing, you can have the calmest heart, the clearest mind, and the most grateful spirit. But if you spend your days spinning in distraction, obligation, and mindless motion, you'll still feel empty. Why? Because happiness doesn't just live in how we feel, it lives in how we spend our time. Hourglass. The danger of drifting. Have you ever finished a week and couldn't remember what you actually did? You were busy, meetings, errands, chores, but at the end of it all, you felt unfulfilled, like you were surviving, not living. That's the trap of autopilot. When we stop directing our energy toward what matters, life starts feeling meaningless, even if it's full. And meaning doesn't come from doing more. It comes from doing what's aligned with your values, your gifts, your deepest truth. The Stoic approach to action. The Stoics weren't just thinkers. They were doers. They believed that philosophy should show up in how you spend your days, not just in what you believe, but in what you build. Epictetus taught his students to examine how they lived minute by minute. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his journal every morning to remind himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do, say, and think." To the Stoics, a day well lived was the highest form of wisdom. Light bulb intention over perfection. This tier isn't about perfection. It's about presence. It's about waking up and asking, what matters today? What brings me alive? What am I building, internally and externally? It's not about hustling 16 hours a day. It's about choosing actions that align with your core. Small, meaningful steps, repeated, daily. Because a meaningful life isn't built in grand gestures. It's built in the rhythm of your routine. Anti-clockwise arrows. The roadmap of Tier 2. This tier will walk you through 4 essential practices that turn intention into action. Pack your days with purpose. How to design your day around meaning, not just motion. Don't quit on what you love. How to stay loyal to your passions even when progress feels slow. Say yes more often. How to step into growth and open new doors. Take breaks and go on trips. How rest isn't a reward, it's a requirement for clarity. Each one is a tool, a mindset, a movement. Together, they create a life that feels lived, not just endured. Sunrise. What this tier is really about. This tier is about no longer postponing your joy, no longer waiting for permission, no longer numbing your discomfort with distraction. It's about choosing what gets your time, your focus, your heart. It's about shifting from reaction to intention, from noise to clarity, from drifting to directing your energy. It's not always easy, but it's always worth it. Door where we begin. So where do we start? Right where you are, with one day, one calendar, one blank page, because how you spend your day is how you spend your life. Let's make it count. Coming up, Principle 6: Pack your days with purpose. Calendar Principle 6. Pack your days with purpose, live on purpose. Not by default. Either you run the day, or the day runs you. Jim Rohn. Let's start with a question that's both simple and terrifying. Where is your time going? Not your intentions, not your to-do list. Your actual, lived, minute-by-minute time. Because if we're being honest, most of us aren't living our days. We're reacting to them. We wake up already behind. We bounce from task to task. We scroll between meetings. We reply to texts while eating lunch. We fall into bed exhausted, and somehow still unfulfilled. Busy? Yes. But purposeful? Not really. Bullseye busyness is not the same as purpose. Being busy is our favorite badge of honor. But busyness is not clarity. It's not intention. And it's certainly not joy. You can fill a calendar and still feel empty. You can cross off 100 tasks and still miss the one that matters most. The Stoics knew this. Seneca warned, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." What we call time management is really life management. And when you don't decide what your day is for, someone else will. Brick, what does a purpose-packed day look like? It's not about rigid schedules or hustle culture. It's about asking one powerful question every morning. What would make today feel meaningful? Not productive, not impressive, meaningful. Maybe it's finishing that one project that excites you, having an honest conversation you've been avoiding, playing with your kid without checking your phone, taking a walk with no destination, saying no to something that drains you, saying yes to something that scares you. A day of purpose doesn't have to be grand. It just has to be aligned. Hammer and wrench: how to pack your days with intention. Here's a framework to bring purpose into every day, without burning out. 1. Start with your North Star. What matters most to you right now? Is it health, creativity, connection, growth, peace? Write it down. Let it guide your choices. 2. Pick your one thing. Every morning, choose one priority. Ask, if I only accomplish this today, would I feel proud? It could be small, but if it moves your life forward, even a little, it matters. 3. Design your day in blocks. Your brain has different energy at different times. Try structuring your day like this. Morning, focused work or creative tasks. Afternoon, collaboration, errands, movement. Evening, reflection, rest, connection. Don't fight your natural rhythm. Work with it. 4. Build in white space. A purposeful life still has room to breathe. Leave time between meetings. Don't schedule every hour. Add buffer for spontaneity or rest. Sometimes the most meaningful moment is the unplanned one. Compass, what the Stoics practiced. Marcus Aurelius didn't just rule an empire. He journaled daily to remind himself of what mattered. He wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." That's clarity. That's living in alignment. The Stoics believed each day was a rehearsal for your values. You don't wait for the weekend. You don't wait for retirement. You live, now, in small, sacred moments. Wave a story from real life. There was a woman named Arya who felt like she was drowning in responsibilities, job, kids, house, bills. She wasn't unhappy. She was just absent. One day, she sat down and asked herself, what would a day that reflects my values actually look like? She realized she wanted more silence in her mornings. She missed painting, even for 20 minutes. She wanted to have one meal a day where she wasn't on her phone. She started with just those 3 things. Not a full overhaul, just a shift in energy. And slowly, her days stopped draining her. They started feeding her. Light bulb: a purposeful day feels like a life you recognize. That's the goal. Not perfection, not productivity. Just the feeling of laying your head on the pillow at night and whispering, "That felt like me." Even if the laundry didn't get done. Even if you forgot to return the email. Even if the day was messy. If you honored what mattered, you win. Open book your journal prompt. Tonight, ask yourself, what did I say yes to today that I wish I hadn't? What did I say no to that I want to protect more of? What would tomorrow look like if it truly reflected who I want to become? Let that be your guide. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? Now that you're shaping your days with purpose, there's one more thing that gives your schedule real meaning. Loyalty to what you love. Because it's one thing to make time for what matters. It's another to keep showing up for it, especially when it gets hard. In the next section, we'll talk about how to stay committed to what lights you up. Even when no one's watching. Even when progress is slow. Even when it doesn't make sense to anyone else but you. Fire Principle 7. Don't quit on what you love, stay loyal to what lights you up. The only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking, don't settle. Steve Jobs. Let's be honest. There's something you love, maybe secretly, maybe deeply, something that makes your eyes light up, your heart beat louder, your soul feel seen. Maybe it's painting, maybe it's writing, maybe it's mentoring, teaching, designing, dancing, building, fixing, creating, performing, coding, cooking. You know what it is. Or maybe you've forgotten. Because life got loud, responsibilities piled up, people told you to be realistic. So you pushed it aside, called it a hobby, said, maybe later, but it still lives inside you. And if you're honest, you miss it. Face with cold sweat why we quit on what we love. You didn't stop loving it. You stopped believing in it. Maybe no one clapped. Maybe the results didn't come fast enough. Maybe fear dressed up as logic whispered, this won't pay the bills. You're too late. You're not that good anyway. Grow up. So you quit, not because it didn't matter, but because you thought it didn't count. And that's the tragedy. Because what you love, it's not extra. It's essential. Brain. What passion does for your brain and body. Research shows that people who regularly engage in activities they love, regardless of whether it's their job, experience lower levels of stress and anxiety, increased dopamine and serotonin, higher levels of life satisfaction, stronger sense of identity and meaning, greater long-term resilience. In short, doing what you love keeps your soul well fed. Even if you only get 20 minutes a day. Even if it's just for you. Classical building. What the Stoics would say. The Stoics weren't against pleasure or passion, they were against being owned by it. But they believed deeply in living according to your nature. Epictetus said, know first who you are, and then adorn yourself accordingly. What does that mean? It means, know what makes you you, and then live it. Marcus Aurelius didn't write his Meditations to publish a bestseller. He wrote because it helped him become who he wanted to be. That's the point of doing what you love. Not to impress, not to succeed, but to stay you. Hammer and wrench. How to keep going, even when it's hard. 1. Redefine what counts. Does it have to make money to matter? Of course not. Does it have to be perfect to be worth your time? Absolutely not. If it brings you alive, it counts. 2. Protect small windows of time. Even 15 minutes a day is enough to sketch an idea, journal one paragraph, sing one song, research one topic, tinker, experiment, play. This isn't about volume. It's about connection to your own joy. 3. Expect resistance and push anyway. There will be days it feels pointless. There will be weeks you want to give up. Good. That means you're doing something worth fighting for. Progress doesn't always look like fireworks. Sometimes it looks like showing up when no one's watching. Wave. A real story. There was a man named Leo who loved music. But life happened, kids, job, bills. For 10 years, he didn't touch his guitar. Then one day, his daughter asked, Daddy, did you used to play? He said yes. She said, can you show me? That night, he tuned the strings. His fingers fumbled, his voice cracked, but he felt something wake up. He never stopped again. Now, every Sunday night, his whole family sings together. He doesn't perform, he doesn't record, but he never quit again. Light bulb. What not quitting really means. Not quitting doesn't mean forcing yourself to hustle every day. It means staying in relationship with what lights you up. Show up when you can. Forgive yourself when you can't. Remember why you started. Fall in love with the process, not the product. Your love deserves loyalty, even in slow seasons, even in self-doubt. Compass. A journal prompt. Ask yourself tonight, what did I love as a child that I've forgotten? What makes me lose track of time? What would I do even if no one ever saw it? What part of me have I been abandoning? Then write. What would it look like to return to that, gently, consistently? Now? Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? Now that you're showing up for your passions, there's another muscle to flex. Saying yes to new people, new experiences, new discomfort, new growth. Because what you love is one thing. But what you haven't tried yet, that might change everything. Rainbow Principle 8. Say yes more often. Step into the life waiting beyond fear. Your life does not get better by chance. It gets better by change. Jim Rohn. Let's be honest. It's easier to say no. No feels safe. No keeps you in the comfort zone. No means fewer risks, fewer embarrassments, fewer awkward moments. And sure, sometimes, no is healthy, necessary, empowering. But if no becomes your default response to the unfamiliar, you stop growing, because every yes is a door. And behind each one could be the thing that changes your life. Brick. Why we say no, even when we want to say yes. Fear. That's the real reason. Fear of looking foolish. Fear of failure. Fear of judgment. Fear of being uncomfortable. Fear of wasting time. We say things like, that's not me. I don't do things like that. I'm too old. What if I suck at it? What will people think? But here's the truth. Every version of you that you admire lives on the other side of yes. Brain. What happens to your brain when you say yes? Every time you say yes to something new, your brain creates new neural connections. That means more flexibility, more creativity, greater adaptability, deeper emotional resilience. And guess what? Confidence doesn't come before the yes. It comes after. You grow into courage, not from thinking, but from doing. Classical building. What the Stoics would say. The Stoics weren't reckless, but they weren't fearful either. They believed in facing life directly, whatever it offered. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Saying yes doesn't mean things will always go well. It means, whatever comes, I trust myself to meet it. That's Stoic strength in motion. Bullseye. Say yes to what? Not to everything, but say yes to experiences that stretch you, people who challenge you, ideas that inspire you, places that intrigue you, skills you're curious about, opportunities that scare you a little. Say yes to the edges of your comfort zone. That's where aliveness lives. Hammer and wrench. How to say yes more often, without overwhelm. 1. Start with micro yeses. You don't have to leap. You can step. Say yes to a different route to work, a new class at the gym, a conversation with a stranger, trying that weird-looking dish, speaking up in a meeting, going to the event alone. Small yeses build the muscle. 2. Interrupt the autopilot no. The next time you hear yourself say no, automatically pause. Ask, is this fear or is this wisdom? What might I miss if I don't try? What would a bolder version of me do? Let curiosity speak louder than caution. 3. Don't demand perfection. You might be awkward. You might mess up. You might feel weird. Good. That means you're alive. That means you're learning. Say yes anyway. Wave. A true story. There's a guy named Caleb. Mid-30s. Corporate job. Routine life. Comfortable, but bored. One night, a friend invited him to a salsa dancing class. He almost said no, but something in him whispered, just try. He showed up, terrible at first, stepped on toes, sweated through his shirt, but he laughed, felt his body move, felt something shake loose inside him. 3 months later, he performs with a local dance group. He didn't just find a hobby. He found himself, a version he never knew existed. All from one small, yes. Light bulb. What saying yes gives you? Confidence, not from knowing, but from trying. New stories, ones you'll tell for years. Unexpected joy, from things you didn't plan. Self-trust, because you keep proving you can handle more. A life that feels expansive, not constrained. No protects. Yes transforms. Person in lotus position. A simple mantra. Next time you're unsure, try this. If I say yes, I might feel awkward, but if I say no, I might feel regret. Choose awkward over regret. Regret lasts longer. Open book journal prompts. Ask yourself tonight, what was the last thing I said no to that I wish I hadn't? What's something I've secretly wanted to try? Where have I been shrinking out of habit? If I were 10% braver, what would I say yes to this week? Let those answers lead you forward. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? You're saying yes to more. You're expanding, growing. But growth takes energy, and energy needs rest. So now we shift gears. Because the final piece of intentional living isn't about doing more. It's about knowing when to pause. In the next section, we'll explore the healing, clarity, and creativity that come from stepping away, intentionally. Coming up, Principle 9. Take breaks and go on trips. Ban ko muon min viet teep fan. Principle 9. Take breaks and go on trips. Tai dao nong luong. Ju do ok sang suet va hu qua hun ngay bei gio kong? 4.0. Ban da noi. Vang viet teep. Chad GPT da noi. Tuyet voi. Doi de la fan teep theo trong tang tu han dong ko chu dik moi nge. Voi. Principle 9. Take breaks and go on trips. Tai dao nong luong. Ju do ok sang suet va hu qua hun. Duok viet theo phong cash kade choyen sin dong kiumai. Gon 1002. Fan ne la mo loi niok dio dang nung de ui luke. Doi ki du tot nyat ta ko the lam. Ladung lai. Luggage. Principle 9. Take breaks and go on trips. Rest is not retreat. It's recovery. Almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, including you. Anne Lamott. Let's get something straight. You're not lazy because you're tired. You're not weak because you need a break. You're not falling behind when you pause. You're human, and humans are not designed to go without end. But in this world of hustle, notifications, comparison, and constant output, rest has become a guilty luxury. Let's reclaim it. Let's remember, breaks are not a distraction from your purpose. They are a part of it. Brain. What happens when you never stop? When you skip rest long enough, your body keeps score. Brain fog, mood swings, weakened immune system, creative burnout, trouble sleeping, emotional numbness. You're functioning, but you're not fully alive. You wake up tired, go through the motions, chase productivity without presence, and maybe, in some quiet moment, you whisper, "I miss me." What rest really gives you? Clarity. When the noise dies down, the truth comes up. Energy, not just physical, but emotional and creative. Perspective. You zoom out and see what really matters. Healing. Your nervous system resets. Your body recovers. Wonder. You remember life isn't just work, it's wild and wide. And you don't need a 6-month sabbatical. You need intention. Classical building. What the Stoics would say. The Stoics were not anti-rest. They were anti-waste. Marcus Aurelius regularly took time alone to reflect and write. Seneca encouraged walking in nature, writing letters, staring at the sky. They understood something modern life often forgets. We suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca. And sometimes, the only way to calm that imagination is to step away from the fire. To walk, to breathe, to return to the moment, not as a worker, or a parent, or a performer, but as a human being. Hammer and wrench. How to take better breaks, even with a full plate. 1. Build in micro rest. Don't wait for burnout. Build in moments of breath. 3 minutes of silence after every meeting. A walk around the block at lunch. Stretching before bed. A phone-free hour each evening. Tiny pauses. Huge impact. 2. Change your scenery. You don't need a passport. Visit a new park. Drive to a nearby town. Book a one-night stay somewhere quiet. Try a different cafe just for the change of vibe. Your brain loves novelty. Even subtle shifts can spark joy and creativity. 3. Honor real rest. Rest doesn't mean Netflix until 2 a.m. True rest is slow, intentional, restorative, screen light or screen-free, connected to nature, beauty, or quiet. You don't rest to escape life. You rest to return to it. Wave. A quiet story. A woman named Elise ran a small business. She hadn't taken a weekend off in over a year. One Saturday, her friend convinced her to take a one-day road trip. No plans. No work, just music and mountains. At first, Elise felt anxious, unproductive, like she was cheating. But by the time she got home that night, something had shifted. Her mind was clearer. Her body was lighter. Her smile? Real. And the next week? She got more done in 4 days than she had in the previous 10. That's what happens when you refill the well. Backpack. Why trips matter, even small ones. Trips, Big or small, create space. They shake up the routine. They offer perspective you can't get from behind a desk or a phone. You meet new people. You try new food. You hear new sounds. You feel wonder again. And most importantly, you remember that life is more than your inbox. Speech balloon, a gentle reminder. You are not a machine. You are not your output. You are not here to earn rest by nearly collapsing. You rest because you are alive. You rest because you are worthy. You rest because the next version of you needs fuel. Open book your journal prompt. Tonight, ask yourself, where am I pushing when I should be pausing? What kind of rest do I actually need? What's one small trip I could plan, just for joy? What would it feel like to give myself permission to breathe again? Then schedule one thing this week. Don't wait for a breakdown to justify it. Anti-clockwise arrows wrapping up Tier 2 daily intentional living. Let's take a breath and look back. In Tier 2, you've learned to design your days with purpose. Stay loyal to your passions. Open your heart to new experiences. Rest with courage and clarity. This isn't just how to do more. This is how to live deeper. You're no longer drifting. You're directing. You're no longer surviving. You're shaping your life, one decision. One breath at a time. Blank. _ blank. Door. What's next? Tier 3 mastery and meaning. Now that your foundation is strong and your daily choices are intentional, we move into something higher. Legacy. Depth. Mastery. Tier 3 is about going beyond the surface, living not just purposefully, but powerfully, not chasing more, but becoming more of who you truly are. Handshake. Tier 3. Connecting with the world. Song de Ket Noi. Kong Kai Tun Tai. We are not only made for ourselves. Cicero. So here you are. You've steadied your inner world. You've reclaimed your time and filled your days with purpose. You've come alive again, moment by moment, breath by breath. But now comes the final shift. From self to others. From internal peace to external impact. From building your life to sharing it. Because no matter how centered you are, how disciplined, how content, if you live only for yourself, something will always feel incomplete. Globe, we were made for each other. There's a quiet myth in our culture that happiness is found through independence, through self-sufficiency, through standing alone. But ask anyone who's truly lived, truly loved, truly lost, and they'll tell you, joy doesn't grow in isolation. It grows in connection. We are wired to belong, to serve, to laugh, cry, build, break, and rebuild together. When you lift someone else, you rise with them. When you share your strength, it multiplies. When you give, not to impress, but to care, you become more fully alive. Classical building. The Stoic legacy of connection. The Stoics weren't lone wolves. They believed in cultivating community, engaging in service, and contributing to the human family. Marcus Aurelius saw his role not as a ruler, but as a servant of the common good. He wrote, "What brings no benefit to the hive brings no benefit to the bee." In other words, if your life doesn't help others, it doesn't help you either. Epictetus taught that we are all parts of a whole, and our duty is to play our part with excellence and kindness. To the Stoics, virtue without action was incomplete. Your wisdom had to walk. Light bulb. This tier isn't about being perfect. It's not about being the hero. It's not about saving people. It's about asking quietly, daily, where can I be of service? Who needs a little more kindness today? Where can I offer presence? Not just advice? What relationships need tending, like a fire? This tier is about intimacy with life. It's about showing up fully, in kindness, in generosity, in presence. Anti-clockwise arrows. The roadmap of Tier 3. In this final tier, you'll learn how to extend your growth outward, to let your inner peace touch the world around you. We'll explore, help others out, why being useful to others is one of the most powerful sources of joy. Go for kindness. How simple acts of care can reshape your relationships and your character. Hang out with friends and family. Why connection is not a luxury, but an emotional necessity. Get outside and connect with nature. How reconnecting with the natural world can reconnect you to yourself. Each practice is a bridge, from you to everything else. Sunrise. What this tier is really about. Tier 1 was about healing. Tier 2 was about direction. Tier 3 is about meaning. Because meaning doesn't come from what you gather. It comes from what you give. It's in the friend you listen to when they're falling apart. The stranger you smile at when they need hope. The child you hug. The elderly neighbor you check in on. The forest path you walk without your phone. The world you touch gently, reverently, fully awake. It's in those quiet moments when you remember you're not alone, and never were. Wave a real reflection. A man once said, I spent my 20s building my resume, my 30s chasing approval, and then I turned 40 and realized the only thing I really wanted was to feel close to someone. Connection is not weakness, it's wisdom, and when you finally stop chasing more, connection is what remains. Open book a journal prompt to begin. Tonight, ask, where have I been hiding from people? Where can I offer more of myself? Even quietly? What kind of presence do I bring into a room? What kind of impact do I want to leave behind? Let these questions open you. Not to pressure, but to possibility. Door where we begin. We begin not with grand gestures. We begin with service, with the timeless, transformative power of simply being useful. Because when you help someone, even in a small way, you don't just make their day better. You remember who you are. You remember that happiness isn't something you chase. It's something you share. Coming up, Principle 10. Help others out. Gift Principle 10. Help others out. The quiet joy of being useful. No one is useless in this world who lightens the burden of another. Charles Dickens. Let's start with a simple truth. We all want to feel like we matter. Like our presence makes some kind of difference. Like, at the end of the day, we left the world just a little better than we found it. And often, the most powerful way to do that isn't through grand gestures or heroic acts. It's through being useful, showing up, doing the thing, helping quietly, consistently, because you can. Brick the human need to contribute. Modern life tells us that success is measured by what we get. But real fulfillment? It almost always comes from what we give. You felt it. The moment you held space for a grieving friend. The time you stayed late to help a teammate. The quiet comfort you gave someone, just by being there. Those moments live in your memory. Not because they were dramatic, but because they were true. Brain. What happens in your brain when you help? Neuroscience backs this up. Helping others activates the brain's reward system, flooding it with dopamine and oxytocin, the chemicals linked to joy, bonding, and motivation. Researchers call this the helper's high. Long-term benefits include lower stress and depression, increased life satisfaction, better physical health, even longer lifespan. Helping others doesn't just improve their day. It improves your life. Classical building. What the Stoics taught about usefulness. The Stoics didn't preach self-absorption. They taught service. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of an empire, reminded himself daily, what is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee. Epictetus said, don't explain your philosophy, embody it. To them, the highest form of wisdom was not just thinking well, but doing good. Helping others wasn't optional, it was a duty of character. Relieved face. You don't have to save the world. This isn't about burning out to be helpful. It's not about being the fixer, the rescuer, the hero. It's about showing up where you are, with what you have, and asking, how can I help? Sometimes the answer is small. Hold the door, listen without interrupting, send a thoughtful message, share your knowledge, make a meal, offer your time. No spotlight, no applause, just presence. Hammer and wrench. How to become someone who helps, naturally. 1. Start close. The easiest people to help? The ones already near you. Look around. Who in your life is struggling silently? Who could use encouragement, support, or just a reminder they're not alone? Sometimes the most radical thing you can do is pay attention. 2. Make it part of your rhythm. Helping doesn't have to be an event. Make it a practice. Text one friend each week. Just thinking of you. Leave a kind note on someone's desk. Volunteer 1 hour a month. Tip a little more than expected. Mentor someone who's just starting out. Let helping be part of your identity, not your agenda. 3. Detach from the outcome. Not every good deed will be noticed. Not every effort will be appreciated. Help anyway. Because helping is not a transaction. It's an expression of who you are. Wave a quiet story. There's a man who picks up trash in his neighborhood park every Sunday. No one asked him. No one pays him. No one really notices. One day, someone finally did ask why. He smiled and said, because I walk here. Because my kids play here. Because I want to leave it better than I found it. That's what helping really is. Not about credit, about care. Light bulb what helping teaches you. That your life has ripple effects you'll never fully see. That you don't need permission to be kind. That small actions compound over time. That the world is changed more by consistency than by drama. And maybe most important, that your life matters, not because of what you achieve, but because of what you offer. Open book your journal prompt. Ask yourself tonight, who helped me become who I am? Where in my life am I needed? Even if it's not spoken? What's one small thing I can do tomorrow to make someone's load lighter? Then do it, quietly, consistently, with love. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? Helping others is powerful, but if you want your impact to last, it needs a heart behind it. And the heart of lasting connection? Kindness. Not the loud, performative kind, but the everyday, eyes open, soul soft kind. In the next section, we'll explore how kindness isn't weakness. It's strength made visible. Coming up, Principle 11. Go for kindness. Yellow Heart Principle 11. Go for kindness. Practice the strength that softens the world. Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible. Dalai Lama. Think back to a time someone surprised you with kindness. Maybe it was small. A stranger held the door with a smile. A friend checked in when you were quiet. Someone let you merge in traffic without frustration. A loved one forgave you before you asked. And in that moment, something softened. Your shoulders dropped. Your heart opened. You remembered, it's okay. I'm safe here. That's the power of kindness. Not grand, not loud, but undeniably human. Faced with cold sweat, why we hold back kindness? You'd think kindness would come naturally. But many of us hesitate. Why? We fear being seen as weak. We don't want to be taken advantage of. We're rushing. We're exhausted. We assume it doesn't matter. We're too lost in our own heads. But here's the truth. Kindness isn't weakness. It's strength, made soft. It's power, made generous. Brain the neuroscience of kindness. Kindness doesn't just feel good, it does good. When you perform a kind act, your body releases oxytocin, builds trust, reduces blood pressure. Serotonin, boosts mood, decreases anxiety. Endorphins, relieve pain, improve emotional well-being. And the benefits aren't just emotional. Stronger immune system, better sleep, increased self-esteem, longer life expectancy. Kindness heals the giver and the receiver. Classical building. What the Stoics taught about kindness. The Stoics weren't cold. They valued virtue, and kindness was a core expression of it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Kindness is invincible, if it's sincere, not fawning or fake." He saw kindness not as something optional, but as a tool of resilience and moral clarity. Seneca added, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." To the Stoics, kindness wasn't just about others. It was about staying in harmony with yourself. You are at your best when you are kind. Hammer and wrench. How to practice daily kindness without burnout. 1. Make it small, but real. You don't need big gestures. Hold eye contact when saying thank you. Leave a kind comment online. Offer someone your place in line. Send a voice message instead of just a text. Compliment someone's effort, not just their result. It's not about impressing. It's about impacting, quietly. 2. Pause before reacting. When you feel irritation rising, ask, what would kindness do here? Not because the other person deserves it, but because you do. Choose the softer road, not for them, but for your peace. 3. Include yourself. Kindness isn't complete unless you offer it inward too. Speak gently to your own mistakes. Rest without guilt. Forgive your flaws. Celebrate your growth. Self-kindness is not self-indulgence. It's self-respect. Wave a quiet story. There's a man who visits the same diner every Sunday. He never says much, orders coffee, sits alone. One day, the waitress smiled and said, "It's always nice to see you." His eyes filled. He said, "This is the only place I've heard that all week." That's kindness. That's impact. And it takes 3 seconds. Light bulb. What kindness teaches you. You never know what someone's carrying. You never regret being patient. You create safety just by being warm. You are powerful, even in softness. And most of all, you're not here to change the world all at once. You're here to change someone's moment, and let that ripple outward. Open book journal prompt. Tonight, ask yourself, who showed me kindness when I needed it most? What moment today could have used more gentleness? Where can I offer softness without expecting anything back? What would it look like to live from compassion instead of control? Let that reflection be your guide. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? Kindness builds connection, but there's one relationship that often gets overlooked in this modern world. The ones closest to us. It's not always easy, but your friends, your family, your circle of love, are where your emotional roots live. In the next section, we explore how time spent with loved ones isn't just comforting. It's life-giving. People hugging. Principle 12. Hang out with friends and family. Joy begins at home. The most important things in life aren't things, they're people. Let's be honest. You've probably texted 10 coworkers today, responded to emails, replied to comments, sat in back-to-back meetings. But when was the last time you sat with someone you love, really sat, no distractions? No agenda, no phone on the table? Just present, together. We live in the most connected age in history. And yet, so many of us feel alone. The truth? We're not starved for contact. We're starved for connection. Why connection is emotional oxygen. Friends, family, chosen family, your people. They don't have to be perfect. They don't have to get everything about you. But when you're with them, the real you breathes easier. These are the people who laugh at your weird jokes. Know your silence means, I'm not okay. Let you be messy, moody, and magnificently human. Remind you who you are when the world forgets. They don't just add to your life. They anchor it. What science says about relationships. Strong social bonds are one of the biggest predictors of long-term happiness and health. Studies show that people with close relationships live longer, recover faster from illness, have lower stress and depression, report greater meaning and purpose, are more resilient in the face of trauma. Why? Because connection regulates your nervous system. It reminds your body, you're safe, you belong, you're not alone. Classical building. What the Stoics taught about relationships. While the Stoics focused on self-mastery, they deeply valued human bonds. Marcus Aurelius wrote, when you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, today I shall meet people who are selfish, ignorant, unkind, but they are my fellow humans. He didn't isolate. He reminded himself to approach others with compassion, patience, and shared humanity. Seneca wrote about friendship as a mirror, not just to reflect joy, but to refine character. Even Epictetus, a man who endured hardship, taught that service to others was the highest use of strength. To the Stoics, life was relational. Hammer and wrench. How to nurture your closest bonds. 1. Be intentional. Don't leave connection up to chance. Schedule a regular call with a friend. Eat dinner with your family without phones. Write a handwritten note. Yes. Still magical. Start a small ritual. Game night. Coffee walk. Sunday texts. Consistency greater than intensity. 2. Go first. Want more connection? Be the one who reaches out. Just thinking of you. How's your heart? Let's catch up. No pressure. Don't wait for perfect timing. Connection doesn't need ceremony, just presence. 3. Give undivided attention. When you're with someone, be with them. No multitasking. No checking the screen. Real quick. Eye contact. Listening. Full body presence. That's the greatest gift you can give anyone. You have all of me. For this moment, wave a true story. A woman once shared that her mom always sat beside her while she did homework. Didn't help, didn't interrupt, just sat, quietly folding laundry. Years later, the woman said, that's what love felt like. Not advice, not gifts, just her being there. Sometimes connection isn't in the big moments. It's in the ones where we say, I won't rush past you. I'm here. Pensive face. But what if my relationships are strained? That's real. Not every family is safe. Not every friendship endures. But connection can be rebuilt, reimagined, reclaimed. Sometimes it's about healing old bonds. Sometimes it's about creating new ones. The key is this: don't close the door on connection. Just open it somewhere else. You are wired to belong. Don't deny yourself the medicine of love because someone once poisoned the cup. Speech balloon. What matters most? At the end of your life, you won't wish you spent more time in your inbox. You'll remember who held you when you cried, who made you laugh until you couldn't breathe, who stayed when things got messy, who made you feel, in the chaos, that you still had a home. That's wealth. That's legacy. That's life. Open book journal prompts. Ask yourself tonight, Who makes me feel the most like me? Who have I lost touch with, but still care for? What's one way I can nurture a relationship I've neglected? What kind of friend, sibling, partner, child do I want to be? Then pick one action, just one, and do it. Anti-clockwise arrows. What's next? You've reconnected with people. Now, it's time to reconnect with something deeper. Older than humanity. Calmer than any room. Wiser than any book. Nature. In the next section, we'll explore how the earth, sky, forest, river, rain, isn't just scenery. It's sanctuary. Coming up. Principle 13. Get outside and connect with nature. Ban ko muon min viet teep fan. Principle 13. Get outside and connect with nature. Trove voi ban the. Lang nghe nhib du tu nien ngay bei geo kong? 4.0. Ban da noi. Viet teep. Chad gpt da noi. Tuyet voi. Doi de la fan kuoi kung trong tang 3 ket noi voi the joy. Voi. Principle 13. Get outside and connect with nature. Trove voi ban the. Lang nghe nhib du tu nien. Viet theo fong cash k choyen sin dong. De cam suk ki umai. Fan na kong kai cape lai tang kuoi kung. Ma con mo ra mo gun kua sao hun vao suhin din. Tin lang va ket noi dik thuk voi susong. Shedding tree. Principle 13. Get outside and connect with nature. Return to the rhythm that made you. Look deep into nature, and then you will understand everything better. Albert Einstein. Let's pause. Not to plan, not to fix, not to figure anything out. Just to feel. Have you noticed how different everything becomes the moment you step outside? The air shifts. Your breath slows. The world stops screaming, and something inside you starts whispering. Because deep down, you know, you weren't made for concrete and constant scroll. You were made for sunlight, wind, water, trees, stars, brick. We are not apart from nature. We are a part of it. Somewhere along the way, we started treating nature like a weekend escape, a background to our selfies, an activity. But nature isn't extra. It's essential. It's where you came from. It's what still recognizes you, even when you've forgotten yourself. You are not just a visitor here. You are nature, in human form. Brain. What happens when you go outside? Modern science calls it green therapy. But your body already knows. Spending time in nature reduces stress and cortisol, improves mood and creativity, sharpens focus, enhances immune function, increases feelings of joy and belonging. Even 15 minutes a day, barefoot in your yard, walking through a park, sitting under a tree, can reset your nervous system. You don't need a forest retreat. You need permission to be still. Classical building. What the Stoics taught about nature. The Stoics didn't see nature as separate from philosophy. They believed that to live in alignment with nature was the highest form of wisdom. Marcus Aurelius, amidst the chaos of war and empire, wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given, and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you." To him, nature wasn't just the trees. It was the unfolding of life, the rhythm of the seasons, the cycle of beginnings, endings, and rebirth. To walk in the forest was to remember who you are. Wave. What nature teaches, without words. Patience. The tree doesn't rush to grow. Resilience. The river bends, but it keeps flowing. Impermanence. Every leaf falls, but spring returns. Presence. The mountain isn't thinking about tomorrow. In nature, you don't have to impress, perform, or prove. You just get to be. And that is enough. Hammer and wrench. How to connect with nature in real life. 1. Create daily micro moments. Drink your coffee outside. Walk barefoot for 2 minutes. Watch the sunset, fully. Open the window and listen to the rain. Plant something, anything, and care for it. Let the earth into your day, not just your weekends. 2. Unplug when you're out there. Resist the urge to document. Let nature be your mirror, not your background. Look, smell, touch, hear, feel it, without filters. 3. Let nature guide your mood. Some days will feel like summer, bright, open, full of possibility. Others, like winter, quiet, tender, calling for rest. That's not failure. That's rhythm. You are not broken. You are seasonal. Sunrise. A true story. There's a man who walks the same trail every morning. Rain or shine. He doesn't run, doesn't wear headphones, just walks. When asked why, he said, "Because the forest never asks me to be anything. It just receives me." That's nature. Not a coach, not a judge, a companion. Speech balloon. What nature restores: your sense of wonder, your feeling of aliveness, your softness, your perspective, your ability to breathe deeply and fully. Because when the world feels like too much, nature reminds you you're not lost. You've just been indoors too long. Open book journal prompt. Ask yourself tonight, where in my day could I trade noise for nature? What do I feel when I'm near water? Trees? Open sky? What's something in nature that reflects my current season? What would it look like to let the earth teach me? Gently? Then tomorrow, go outside. Not to do, just to be. Anti-clockwise arrows. Wrapping up Tier 3. Living in connection. Let's take a breath and look back. In this tier, you've learned to help others with purpose, practice kindness as a way of being, deepen your bonds with those who love you, reconnect with the living world beyond your screen. These aren't tasks, they're reminders that your life is richest not in isolation, but in interbeing. That meaning doesn't grow alone, it grows together. And that the more you give, the more you receive, without even asking. Glowing star. You've completed the journey, but not the path. This isn't the end. This is a new beginning, with eyes wide open, a heart deeply rooted, and a life designed with care. You've learned to build a stable inner world, to act with direction, to connect with grace. Now go live it. Not perfectly, not always loudly, but honestly, one moment at a time. And whenever you forget, step outside, look up, breathe in, and begin again. Conclusion. Happiness is not a destination, it's a daily return to what matters. Happiness isn't a trophy at the end of some perfect path. It's a quiet rhythm, a way of being that we shape, breath by breath, choice by choice. It lives in gratitude. It grows in kindness. It thrives when we show up with love and intention. Both ancient wisdom and modern science agree. You already have everything you need to be happy. The only question is, will you choose to use it? Every day, the door opens. Just step through.